Hey there guys, this is Flamzeron, aka YouTube's Tasuke, and we're going to talk about the next book in the Legend of Drizzt series. The actual, next novel. And the way that I read it, it was just sort of like a second chapter, I guess, or something. But it is the actual, second book. It's called Exile, which makes sense given what Drizzt does in this chapter here. I say chapter, but I'm just calling it that just because from my perspective it was another part of the same book as opposed to being a separate book altogether. Because if you've read the novels, then you know that they're like 300 plus pages, and I remember back then when I first bought the books, I'm just like, holy crap. And it never dawned on me how big novels can be, and of course I'm trying to write one myself with the Sword of Kenra, so I guess we'll have to see if it's really worthy of the term novel. But yeah, novels are definitely really long, but this is book 2, Exile, and it takes place around the same time of where the original or the first one left off. Drizzt, he's in exile now. He's wandering, the Underdark, just trying to survive and do stuff. And, they do thing like, he had a hard time fighting the hunter, but, he let it out whenever he needed to take care of himself. And there'd be times where, he would find a good spot and be all like, oh, this is a nice spot. There's water here, and there's some bison that I can kill, and there's some creatures who won't bother me if I'm nice to them, so I can have some friends and all that good junk. It's kind of nice, but something would always happen. He'd be getting chased by something, quite possibly the other members of the Dordan family, which he's pretty much renounced at this point, even though he keeps the last name Dordan, which is kind of silly. But from his perspective, he's trying to kind of find his place and whatnot, and eventually he reaches this dwarven village that happens to be the home of this one dwarf who had his hands cut off due to something that Drizzt did. I don't remember the details, you'll have to forgive me. But basically he has minor hands now, the little pickaxe and whatnot. And Drizzt ends up living with this guy. He's like, oh, I know you're a nice drow. You're not like the others. And he's all like, oh, gee, thanks. And I remember one scene that stuck out was he was out and these kids were like, show us how you kill a monster. And he's like, okay. And there's a statue well, first you gotta do this. And then, and the hunter, he goes back into the hunter and he decapitates the statue, and he's like, whoa, blah, blah. And he's like, I scared the kids. Yeah, then he's like, yeah, they were scared, and they're gonna come back to get scared again. Which was an interesting way of saying it. Kind of excited them in a way. But and then there's some other stuff going on, because I think it's other members of House Dordan or some other dark elf, they come and be like, hey, is Drizzt here? And he's like, no. They figure out he's lying. He's like, okay, it's not safe here. I gotta go. And then the dwarf guy's like, okay, I'll go with you. And then they end up taking this, I don't remember the name of the race, but it's this humanoid guy was turned into the race, and so okay, we need to find a way to cure you. And they try to cure him. And they get to the guy who did the spell. And it just this is kind of like, Mortal Kombat in a way. Or Mortal Kombat X in a way, where you get to a point to where you think everything's going well, then, something bad happens, and then you're just like, oh no. And of course here, it's within a page turn, so it's you have a little bit of downtime. The wizard guy, he says something, and it, provokes the little bird guy. And he's like, and he kills the wizard, and he's like, okay, well, you're stuck here now, or you're stuck in this bird form. And what ended up happening was that he's been in this creature form for so long that he's starting to kind of turn into the creature a little bit. He still has a little bit of his sanity left, but in his dialogue, you can kind of tell that he's sort of struggling to like make the words, and like not even really struggling to talk like it hurts to talk or anything, but like he's struggling to kind of like speak, be intelligent, be non-animalistic. And Drizzt is thinking, okay, I may have to go back to Menzoberranzan and talk to one of the drow there. The creature guy ends up getting killed, and then he turns back into his humanoid form again. I say humanoid because I don't think he was an actual human, but... And, while this is going on, Matron Malice, I believe, is the one who does this. She resurrects Zach, Drizzt's teacher and father, as like this undead spirit, and like so he goes he's sent to like kill Drizzt. So he goes after Drizzt, while Drizzt and the dwarf guy are trying to like escape, and they're just trying to like go through. And I think at this point Drizzt is kind of wandering. I don't think he has a particular. I don't think he's trying to leave the Underdark right now. I think he's just trying to find a way to live in it. But the temptation of like the hunter is still kind of eating at him. And personally, I think based on after reading Sojourn, I think that part of it is because of the environment. I don't think that's what I think. I'm not R.A. Salvatore, and I certainly have not talked to him or read anything about his meaning behind what's going on in Exile. And I haven't read the novel, so there's probably a lot of stuff I'm missing, both little tiny story bits that are told, as well as probably getting into Drizzt's head, depending on what kind of since R.A. Salvatore writes in third person, at least he did in what I've read so far of Homeland. Again, I haven't read Exile or Sojourn, the actual novels, though I did read the entire graphic novels of both, including Homeland, and I have read up to chapter 6 of Homeland, and I may actually try to finish the novels. It'll be quite a challenge, I think, but I only say this because it's going to take a while, because I'm a slow reader, and reading is a bit of a chore for me anyway. But so, basically, Drizzt and Zach, they eventually confront, they have to fight each other, and of course Zach he's in like full hunter mode because he's like undead, but then he kind of does like, oh, I'm in control, don't give in to the hunter or whatever. I say the hunter, like I don't remember if they mentioned it, what they exactly call it, but I'm pretty sure it's like don't give in to the dark, basically don't give in to the darkness. And he ends up dying for good, and the chapter ends with Drizzt and the dwarf guy, they go back to the town. He's like, I can't stay here anymore, and he's like, oh, why not? I gotta go now. And he's like, oh, okay, because he feels like House Dorton and other drow and Matron Malice are probably gonna go after him as long as he's in the Underdark. And they may be able to sense him as well, sense his like presence. Like, I don't know if they can sense where exactly he is. And I'm only saying that just because I'm trying to rationalize why they would stop following him after he goes through and certain things. But basically, he decides that he needs to get out of the Underdark and go into the regular world, or not the outside world, the world of the light. And that's kind of where the book ends. I think it kind of ends a little bit after he's walked out or something, I believe. I don't exactly remember, but the details are a little fuzzy for me because it's been a while since I've read it. But I kind of like this one. I liked both of them, and I like Sojourn as well, but I'll get to that later on. Because with this one, what I kind of took from it was that Drizzt was trying to kind of find some way to sort of live in Menzoberranzan, or not the Underdark, rather. Like, yeah, Menzoberranzan, that's the town. Stay in the Underdark while being independent and not like the other drow. But of course, it's too hard, and like it's just, I find it kind of interesting how like he's trying to kind of, it's like it's like when you're in a bad place and you're trying to kind of deal with it, but it's too hard, and eventually you realize that you just have to get out. Like I've heard a few stories where people are just like, I just had to go somewhere different, and when I feel like this is sort of a similar situation, it's kind of interesting to sort of analyze Drizzt on this level. Him trying to find his place, because as fans will know, he's not like typical Drow. So the Underdark in many ways may not have been the best place for him, and he's able to live. I found it kind of interesting why he didn't stay with the dwarves. I mean, I got from the impression, from what I remember, and also it kind of makes sense. They'd probably try to come after him, which is why I think they can sense him, because one, if he's within the same general area, and I mean area in a large scale, they can probably track him down, and they will probably continue to track him down. Whereas if he's out, maybe the signal's too weak or something, or maybe they assume he's dead or something. I don't know. And who knows, maybe after I read the second omnibus, which I have, and I am basically waiting until I finish this entire review series, so after Sojourn, and then probably around when school starts, I'll take it with me and try to review it. But I really like this one. Oh, and I forgot one thing about the brain people that are like obsessed with knowledge, and like they made the panther. They made the dwarf guy and Drizzt like go under like this hypnosis thing, and I remember like Drizzt was like massaging this brain. They end up like, it's funny because like he eventually breaks free, and then they like destroy the entire group. I guess you could kind of say the significance from that is sort of like, this is what it would have been like if he had completely given into the hunter way, because here he is like, because they kind of, the way like, and what I mean like the general Drow way of like just hunting things, like that's sort of something like that he's trying to kind of fight against, and it's written as if it's something out of his control, and like it's something like his mind just goes into, and like once he's in it, like he's not the same person, like he's a hunter. That's what I take from it, at least. I'm trying to give this a little more literary and a literary analysis, just because writing and story is kind of my thing. That's what I can kind of take from it in hindsight, and I say that just because I didn't think about it this way until just now, because I'm trying to fill up a review. But I liked it, honestly. It was pretty good. Sojourn, I'll go ahead and say a little, I kind of liked it in a more refreshing way, because obviously since Drizzt is not in the Underdark anymore, the imagery is a little bit lighter, and there's a little more variety in the and things. But I'll get to that probably next week or something. I'll probably upload this on Tuesday or something, or maybe even Monday. I don't know. But yeah, I think it was pretty good, and I would recommend it. And I'll have to try to read the novel at some. I'm gonna probably, after I read the graphic novels, I'll try to read all the novels, because I do have more of the novels, and they've only done like 6 novels into graphic novels. Like they've only done 6 adaptations. So, and I don't know if they're gonna do more. I hope they do more. But yeah, that was Exile. Next up is Sojourn, and then I'm going to go on to the second omnibus, which will cover books 4, 5, and 6. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.